This review might piss off a lot of people. AirPods Pro from an audiophile perspective. Let's check it out. So these are the AirPods Pro, not to be confused with the normal AirPods, those little things you put in your ear that looks just like the normal Apple earbuds that came with an iPhone, but just with the cable snipped off. This isn't those. These are IEMs. Wireless IEMs with a lot of features. My phone just lit up because I just connected them. And they are not to be confused with the other AirPods because they are very, very different. I did try those for a while. They were interesting. They did not sound great. They sound like a crappy version of the KSE75, but this actually brings something to the market that a lot of you might like and some of you might not. My biggest problem with this before I get into anything was honestly a brand thing. I don't usually like a lot of Apple products, and whenever we think of Apple products, funny enough because I still have an iPhone, we think of, at least in the audiophile community, like the crappy earbuds or the fact that they own Beats or anything like that. And we think, oh, well, let's go with some other company that's significantly more reputable, especially for a wireless product. So in this case, I tried these and I tried several others. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. The TIEV, you guys heard of that? The TIEV, the TIEV, something like that?
No.
It's like a Chinese one. It's like $250. I tried that one, and I tried the Sonys also. I don't know what you call the Sonys.
1000 Mark III something.
The 1000 Mark III, the wireless ones. You know what I'm talking about. I tried those. I tried the TIEVs, and I tried these. Maybe it was like Levy. Is it Levy?
I don't know what you're getting at over there.
Chinese wireless IEM. And after having used that, and I've used a bajillion different IEMs. I remember you guys probably, maybe you do, maybe you don't know my wireless IEM roundup. I did that. I've got a bunch of other high-end IEMs around here that I use on a regular basis, including custom IEMs from 64 Audio, the LH Stella Campfire Andromeda, the Empire Zeus, all kinds of things like that. Got some Etymonics coming in soon. This does something interesting. Before I talk about that, let's get into the normal things, which are build and comfort. Build-wise, this is not that different from the normal AirPods. If you haven't used those, plastic case, metal hinge. There's little bitty conductors in here that touch on the bottom of these to help them charge because the case is a battery. These last for a little while on their own, but then you need to put them back in here and the case will charge them right back up. After a few days, I had to charge the case though because that will run out. Pairing them to an iPhone is extremely simple. Pairing them to an Android phone is still pretty dang simple, but not as simple as just opening them and then, you're off to the races. You put them in your ears, they turn on, you hear a little ding, and then suddenly you can hear the world around you because these are running something that they call a transparency mode, where they use the internal microphones to pick up and then transmit into your ear the sound of the room around you. But you can turn that off, you just press and hold this, and then they're active noise canceling, which is a nice feature. Comfort's not bad, though if I'm talking on the phone for a while and moving my jaw, eventually I do get a little bit irritating in my ears, but then again, most IEMs do as well. Now my biggest complaint about these, aside from the fact that every now and then when I put them in the case they didn't charge, this is a bit of a rare problem that I've had, but some people online have had this issue. The tips. The tips on this make absolutely no sense. This is a non-standardized format. It snaps on, it snaps off, and every time I feel like I'm going to break them. There is a benefit, however, to that on the front of ergonomics, and that is that there is not a metal or plastic tunnel inside of these. The entire thing is a soft piece of silicone, so it conforms much easier to the inner shape of my ear. Building comfort aside, let's talk about sound and what it is that actually makes these worth having for some people, myself included. So these are a little bit V-shaped. They extend really, really well on the low end. There's a little bit of a mid-bass bump. It can get a little bit bloated at times. Low-end resolution is not great, but it's certainly present. The mid-range is definitely less present. I could use more mid-range. I use 6XXs a lot at home, and those are just mid-range. So I'd appreciate it a little bit more, though I don't think a lot of your average consumers are going to, since a lot of people tend to lean more towards a V-shaped sound in the consumer space. If you move into treble, they are not too peaky, but at certain times I can tell that there is, like I said, a bit of a V-shape to the frequency response of these. It's not harsh, it's not particularly sibilant, but it is definitely lacking in resolution. though just enough to make it stand out among the, I'd say, like $150-ish wired IEMs, which I feel like is great for a wireless product. And I feel like what you're paying for in these is something like a $150 set of IEMs with another $100 of features added on top of this, given that they're wireless. And wireless is one of the interesting bits here. Usually wireless headphones don't sound that good, but that's been changing over the past few years. These aren't quite resolving enough to really hear major drawbacks with Bluetooth, though I do feel like the DAC and amplification in these is pretty well tuned to the drivers and the entire structure of it. It's all a very cohesive ecosystem contained in this little product. So it all works pretty well. Soundstage is actually pretty amazing. If you use them in the transparency mode, it feels like you're using an open back headphone, even though it's a completely sealed IEM, which I think is kind of neat. It's nice to be able to walk through the grocery store with a little tune in my head and still be able to hear the people around me in case I'm about to bump into somebody or need to check out and can't remember what my pin is for my shopping cart or whatever. Or now, since they don't do plastic, they're like, oh, you need paper bags? Imaging, I haven't really been able to test too much because usually when I test imaging, I do it gaming, and this is a Bluetooth headphone. The latency on them isn't great, and so I haven't used them for gaming. I read online that the latency of these are about 180 milliseconds, which, I mean, watching videos on my phone and watching movies on an airplane, I definitely notice. I feel like a lot of people won't, but I definitely did. For me, the main use case of these is just when I'm, driving around, going to the grocery store, out and about, wanting to have music and wanting to be connected without having to take my phone out of my pocket. And speaking of that, that is a big feature that sets these apart. Aside from the amazing active noise canceling and the transparency mode, the convenience of pairing, these have Siri built in, and usually Siri is absolutely terrible. I never use Siri on my phone. I never use Siri on my phone unless it is in these, because I'll be walking through the grocery store again, for example. I'll get a message, and in that message, it'll read it out to me. It'll say, you received a message from so-and-so. It says this, which is great. It reads you the message. I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yep.
It's fantastic. And if you respond, it says, sent with Siri.
Yeah.
That's great. That's super useful, because then people know if the text message comes back completely backwards and upside down, that it's Siri's fault and it's not your fault for not being able to spell. Isn't that nice?
It is.
Pretty great. The convenience of these features has really made this a good sell for me, and I've started using them pretty frequently. I still have my QC35 too. I'm sure you guys saw the video on that, where I talked about the convenience, and that was my main point for owning them. Convenience, travel, active noise canceling. I use them for phone calls, I use them for going out and about, and I use them for when I was on the road. And these are replacing my QC35 II as my portable go-to headphone. Not if I want super high fidelity, but listening to music on the go, having the option for noise canceling or the transparency mode, having something that'll read my text messages to me and being able to fit this in my pocket is a lot easier than carrying the QC35 II around. And as a result, these are just something that I throw in my pocket anytime I leave the house. And if I get a phone call during the day, I'll put it in my ear and then I'll listen to music afterwards. It's just something that's always easy and convenient to have on me. And that's really what we're going for here, is convenience. So overall, there are wireless products that sound better. I think that the Sonys are a little bit more resolving, though I didn't find them as comfortable. I think the Chinese ones, I can't remember how it's pronounced, but I'll put that on the screen. I think those definitely had better sonic fidelity, and the ability to bake in an EQ is a really nice feature. But as an overall winner for a wireless product, I'm looking for convenience, and this takes the cake on that. So, that's all I have for this one. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com. And as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until next one, guys. Peace.